This sport is one of the toughest sports on the planet. You're on your own. There's no one else around. You're the only one to blame when things go wrong. You are trying to physically hurt someone and trying not to get physically hurt yourself. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Lewis Hatchett, mindset mental performance coach, also former professional athlete in the great British sport of cricket. So any cricket fans out there, be sure to like this channel and join on in. Also a master's student in performance psychology at Bangor University, the host of the Raising Your Game podcast, and the creator of the Mind Strong Sport app. Link in the description to download that app now. Today, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 mentally tough sports. Now, is this peer-reviewed research with hugely backed opinions? No, it is purely mine. So take that with a pinch of salt for whatever it's worth. You may not think it's worth anything. Probably only my mother thinks about that, but that's tenuous at best. So this is all based on my own experience as a professional athlete, also my work as a mindset mental performance coach with elite athletes, and also looking at a lot of the literature in some of those components as well. I'm going to be using my own criteria. So if you don't like it, let me know in the comments and you can come after me if you want. But at the end of the day, this is what we're given and this is what you get. And so the criteria that I came up with in order to create a mentally tough sport is that it has to have uncontrollables, so things that are just out of your control. It has to have an element of endurance. It has to have an element of challenge, mental skills, and physical danger, where the risk of getting hurt or potentially fatally injured could be around. So that's the criteria we're going to be judging it on, and let's get into the sports that I have chosen. If you don't like them, let me know in the comments. If there's one that you think I've missed out, let me know in the comments. But again, this is my opinion, so take it with a pinch of salt. It's not fully backed, and I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. And if you want to come after me, be my guest. All right, starting off at number 5, we have ultra running. Now, ultra running is literally any distance above a marathon. If you have done a marathon, you know that is incredibly mentally challenging to begin with, and you have to be mentally tough to do one of those. But an ultra being above a marathon is anything from a 50K to 100K, 200K, sometimes even 24-hour races and beyond. And if you have done a long form of running, you will know it is incredibly physically demanding. The wear and tear on your feet, your legs, your cardiovascular system, it is extremely physically demanding, but it's also incredibly boring and monotonous. You're all alone. You're just you, your thoughts, no one else around. Sometimes you're out in the wilderness. Sometimes you're on the road on your own and there is no one around. And so to do that and not stop and just continuously keep going, that is incredibly mentally tough. So I've got number 5 at ultra running. In at number 4, I have golf. Now, if you've ever played golf, you'll know how mentally challenging this sport is. You're on your own. There's no one else around. You're the only one to blame when things go wrong. But more importantly, it has a high level of skill in order to execute. The simple process of trying to hit a tiny little white ball on the ground with a club is so challenging. And even though it seems simple on paper, the real thing is very different. But when it comes to adding pressure and being mentally tough, this is where other people watching, if you watch a professional match where there are thousands of people watching you hit one tiny little ball and a shot, it is so hard. You only have to go and play the sport and have a few of your mates watching to realize that the pressure really mounts up. The spotlight is entirely on you. So to do that over and over and over again and be consistent is incredibly mentally tough. Then in professional golf, you can sometimes play 4 days. So you have to back it up day after day after day and stay consistent, keep that high level of skill as well as your body starting to wear and tear. So this sport, incredibly mentally challenging, and it's no coincidence that some of the best champions in the game are regarded as some of the mentally toughest athletes that you can find. All right, so you might be enjoying this video, and if you are, be sure to hit the like button, also the subscribe button so that you're following this channel, and you can hit the bell so that you get notified every time a new video comes out, and you will be one of the first people to get notified. Thank you so much for doing that, and let's get back into the video. Okay, moving on to number 3, and I think this sport is one of the toughest sports on the planet because it has absolutely everything, and that is tennis. It is, for me, one of the best all-round sports. It has every component of whether it's fitness or sporting skill that you could possibly need. It's got a high level of skill, but from a physical component, it has everything. You need endurance, strength, speed, agility, coordination, timing, hand-eye coordination, just absolutely everything this sport has. But along with that, it has a relentless schedule, especially if you are a professional. So when you're playing it at a very high level, you have to be able to go from tournament to tournament, and it seems like the season never ends. There's never any respite for them. So they're constantly playing, they're constantly being challenged. They're having to play really long matches, sometimes late into the night. If you play a 5-set thriller, it can go on for ages, over 4 hours sometimes. And that is incredibly physically demanding. There are uncontrollables in this environment for you, where there are umpires' decisions, there are different surfaces that you face, there are just different components that are thrown at you, and constantly you're having to switch opponents, different players that you're playing, and as well as that, you have to have this ability to switch on and off in between points, in between matches. So for me, it's just entirely relentless. To be a professional tennis player, to be a high-level tennis player, and just to play the sport in general requires a huge level of mental toughness. So number 3 for me is tennis. Okay, now number 2, and this is a controversial one because I have put my own sport of the game of cricket. Now, before you come at me and before you start going towards that comment section, hear me out. Even though it's my own sport, I'm going to give you the reasons why I think it is so mentally challenging. And I know it is mentally challenging because 1, I've played it at the highest level, and 2, I speak to so many different athletes in a range of different sports, and they end up starting to agree with me when I put these reasons to them. So listen to me first before you head in that comment section. First thing, there are so many uncontrollables in cricket, from the pitch, the ball. Every game, the ball is completely different. So the ball behaves in a completely different way. The conditions you're playing on, that pitch that you're playing on is totally different. Every pitch you always play on is a different variation that you will find. The conditions, you might have really hot conditions. You might have cold, windy conditions. You have to have different boundary sizes. The ground itself can be different dimensions. There are things that are always changing. There are then umpire decisions. Sometimes your own fate in the game is decided on another human being's ability to make a decision. So umpires' decisions come into play all the time. Your form can count for absolutely nothing when all of that's happening, when there's a lot of things that are taken out of your control. And to deal with that, to have all of that going on with these uncontrollables, creates a huge level of stress for players. They doubt themselves, they're unsure of what to do, they have low confidence, they have high anxiety in games. It just creates huge levels of stress. Not only that, the game is played over 5 days if you're playing at the very top level. I played at first class level, which was 4 days. And to do that day in and day out and recover each day is an incredibly challenging thing to do physically, but mentally to come back again and again within the space of 12 hours of recovery after the last day, it's a challenge. Then when you're in the game, you're playing it for 6 hours. The levels of concentration that you need to switch on, switch off, and do that over and over again is insane. And as I mentioned, players then play it at 5 days at the top level. So to do all of that and do it for 5 days and then potentially play a series that can last a few months, that is an incredibly mentally demanding sport that even when you're not playing it, it pulls on your mental strings a lot. Now, every sport does that, but this one particularly, because you will be thinking about whether your form is in place or you even are in form based on potentially something that's not even in your control. And that, for me, this high level of uncontrollables in this sport creates one of the most mentally challenging sports that I've seen, experienced, and I've spoken to people about. But I'm sure there are going to be people that disagree with me. So head into the comments now and go crazy. But here we go with the number 1 mentally tough sport that I could think of, and in my opinion, was combat sports. So we're talking boxing, MMA, any sort of combat sport, because the level of physical danger that you face is incredibly high. There's also so many unknowns as to what the other fighter will do. Your opposition, you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know how they're going to be in that fight, what their game plan is. There is some element that you are going to have to be constantly ready. You can never have your guard down. So to see what fighters do in combat sports and the state of mind they have to get into and the state of mind they have to have in order to compete at that level, it's insane. You're never dropping your guard. You're constantly looking out to defend yourself, to attack, to try and win. But the mindset of a combat athlete is completely different to anything I've ever seen. So for me, it's no doubt one of the most mentally tough sports, because you are trying to physically hurt someone and trying not to get physically hurt yourself. And there's real consequences to that. So it's a mentally tough sport. I have no doubt that is the number 1 toughest one out there. So there you go. that is my full opinion on what are some of the most mentally tough sports out there, my top 5. If you have a sport that you think I've missed out, throw it in the comments, let me know. But if you want to build a tougher mind in sport, then do head over and download the Mind Strong Sport app. It is the mental gym that will allow you to build the mental strength you're looking for on and off the field with meditations, mindset exercises, courses, breathing exercises, and so much more. You can download it now on iOS and Android by clicking in the link in the description to get started right now. All right, so if you want to become a mentally tough athlete right now, there could be some mental skills that you may or may not have. And to know that, you're going to want to watch this video right now.